they rescued us, and then I spent the evening, 2 days it was actually in Penderyn Police Station. Come all the way from a farmer to fellowship. When I came out from that, I was a changed man.
You started this interview by saying people need different things. What do you need?
I need to go kicking sometimes. We've got to live for today. You don't see me when I fall over. She's the one who says, right, get up.
Do you have any regrets?
No, not at all.
Hello, my name's Dominic Brown, editor of Highways magazine, and welcome to a special edition of Highways Presents. I'm very lucky to be joined in person by Ken Evans, known as Mr. Wales in the sector over here. Ken, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Ken, you've got a fascinating story in Highways.
Believe it or not, I started on a farm. I was born and bred in a farm in mid Wales. Once I finished school, I left school with very little qualifications. And then what I did then, I had to go I went onto the farm. I then went to college, 1 day release, and I started apprenticeship with the Agricultural Training Board, which was a 4-year apprenticeship. Then, once my apprenticeship finished, I took the decision then to leave farming, which was quite a difficult time, having to explain to my family that I was leaving farming. A job came up in Highways. They said, there's a job came up at Highways. It was the time of competitive tendering was going on. So then I started with Powys Council, starting on the highways. And one of the first jobs I did was on the back of a lorry with a load of tarmac. And it used to be sheds on the back of the lorry. They drive along, stop, I jump off, fill a pothole, jump back on, and then go on to the next one, which was pretty hard work, jumping up and down the lorry, knowing that it was freezing in the back of those trucks without any heating and things. So I did that for a while. And then they said, oh, right, you're a farm lad, because they looked at farm lads as being sort of really sort of conscientious and everything. So I then started moving on to the surface dressing part of it. So I was involved with the tarring, involved with the tar tanker and everything, where I was controlling the tar onto the road for chip-ins. I did that for a while, but in between that now I was starting to pull some of my farming experience into it, and driving different machineries like JCBs, and then I was doing the diggers and everything else, but I was learning all the time, getting my practical experience. And then one day the paver driver didn't turn up, and they asked me would I go on the paver for driving the driver. So I did that for a few years, and then I became in charge of the paving, in charge of a team of tarmac layers as well, which is a great grounding for management of people.
What kind of lessons does that teach you?
One of the main things is the main part of a business is people, and you've all got these different types of people, so you've got to treat people differently. Every person is different, so you've got to treat them differently. Some people you've got to put an arm around, other people you've got to sort of have a stern conversation with, but they are people, and that's the main thing. You treat them right and you get the right results from it.
And how do you know who is who? How do you gauge exactly what type of approach someone needs? Because I imagine sometimes it's counterintuitive, because what people think they want is not necessarily what they really need. Yeah,
just watching, talking, staying back out of things as well. If there's something going wrong, take a step back, have a think what's going on, and then sort of to go into it. But it was 1982 and there was a storm came. And unfortunately, all of this nearly finished. I was involved, I was on the gritting then. I had got my HGVs, my heavy goods license. I was driving tar tankers and I was driving a gritter. 1982, a storm came along. There was a big blizzard. We needed to get one of my JCBs from a place called Ystrefyllder, which is quite hilly. So I headed out there with another guy. Unfortunately, we couldn't start the JCB. So we had to come back to where we were in Brecon. So we drove back, come on to the Brecon Beacons just past Penderyn, and unfortunately with the blizzard and everything, we slid into the ditch. So the Land Rover turned. I was trapped in the Land Rover with this guy. We did have radio contact with the headquarters, but of course we had to turn the engine off because the fumes were coming back in it. And we were in there for about 7 to 8 hours. Wow. And that was I was drifting in and out of consciousness.
Wow.
I was wet already you know, because of the snow and everything, and it was quite a bleak sort of time.
So sub-zero temperatures,
yeah,
pitch black.
pitch black it was. By 2 o'clock in the afternoon, we'd gone back because the snow had gone over it, and thank goodness it turned to rain, and it didn't have any more snow. But the mountain rescue came. They rescued us. They found us. They rescued us, and then I spent the evening, 2 days it was actually in Penderyn police station. And
just warming up,
just warming up, and of course I had no clothes, so I was wearing a police uniform. Yeah, that was but that really changed.
Were you in a cell, by the way?
No.
Funny to arrive at a police station.
Yeah, but of course that was before the roads had reopened. But that was a real turning point in my life. When I came out from that, I was a changed man. It really did change my life. You know, with the way I looked at life, and sort of the way I thought about it was, we got to do everything now. We got to live for today. I looked at my mother. You know, she was very concerned about me being on the roads and everything like that, and especially in those conditions, because I was taking, you know, health and safety then wasn't absolutely brilliant, and I was taking lots of risks. So I sort of then became involved with management more. I started looking at construction, doing stuff with, I was a foreman at a construction site, so I was building roads. That is when I started learning, seeing stuff. I started doing distant learning with Bath University, Bath College. Yeah, I started doing that. Highway maintenance. Yeah, doing highway maintenance. I did a lot of safety ones, so because I had a lot of spare time, because I was away from my family, I was able to do it nights and everything. That's when I started doing, you know, getting involved with trying to better myself.
We can fast forward now a little bit. You're now operations director at Centergreat, one of the great Welsh civil engineering and highways maintenance companies. How important is the idea of being a representative of Wales and a representative of the highway sector in Wales? How important is that to you? Very important. You know, the way I've come up from the bottom. And I appreciate, I really, you know, when I was chair of the IC Wales and things like that, I dealt a lot with the younger people. And it's fascinating to see, you know, the younger people in Wales coming on, and they're our future. And, you know, there's some really good things going on, and I really sort of appreciate, you know, what's happening like. Did you have any big breaks along the way, or is it just a case of slowly moving up, or were there any other key moments as you kind of climb the ladder to operations director now? Well, like my father told me, you should never stay longer in a job more than 5 years if you're going to gain experience. 5 years. I've been 10 odd years now. I am now, so but that's the way my father told me when I was younger, because my father was 30 years on the farm, and that's what he told me, you know. And that's the way is to gain experience, you know, gain experience. Yeah. So then. So did you stick to that every 5 years? You would try to? No. Okay. But it's a good mark, isn't it? Yeah, sure. So I went to Ceredigion. A job came up in Cardiff, in South Glamorgan, and that job was a team leader. Now that was something completely different, and I started the digital stuff. And then what happened then? Government reorganisation, and then I went to the Vale Glamorgan Council. Can I just check the government reorganisation? Can you just explain what impact that had on the sector? Like, what was the process? There was, I think it was about 10 odd councils. What they did, they split them into 22 local authorities. Right. So they had the district council and they had the county council, and they put two of them together. So that set the model that we still have today? Yes, that set the model it is. And do you think that was a really good move? No. Okay. Because I think the smaller we went into a district council, which they weren't really geared up for highways. South Glamorgan stayed the same. That was okay because they were well into highways. But I think the bigger, if not too big, but at least you got the skills. Otherwise, you got 22 chief executives, 22 directors of highways. Sure. So then you already had 6, but you had that skill there as well. But now in Wales, you've got 22 unitary authorities, which is probably, I would say, the envy of England. Yeah. I mean, we're just embarking on another round of reorganisation. We don't know where that would lead, but it seems to have been a model in Wales
Yeah.
that is really quite bulletproof, I would say.
Yeah.
Am I wrong? Or?
There's no talk of reorganisation at the
No.
moment, and I think it is. But this is from a personal point of view, and that's what I think. I think it's some of the authorities, some of them, are quite decent, bigger, but the smaller authorities like Merthyr, possibly in Tylwyth and things like that, are small, and they haven't got the budgets as well, to maintain their highways. The bigger councils have got the more. You can see, you've got the Rhondda and the Tafts and the Caerphillys, and the big councils have got the money in Cardiff to do it. The smaller ones like Merthyr hasn't got the money to maintain their highways as they want them.
How did you then move up to director level?
So I went to Belgrave Morgan, and I progressed. I was then a senior highway maintenance officer, and then I went to a routine maintenance manager, and then I went to a highway maintenance manager, incorporating street lighting, highway development as well. So as I was going over the next 15 years or so, I was really building a sort of a team around me as well. And there was some really great innovations I had there as well. Like it was one of the ones I did was the Big Fill, where we had this program where we would go along and, like, normally when you fill potholes, it's part of the statutory duty of a highway authority that you got to make the highway safe. But this was up and beyond of what we were doing. We'd had quite a bad, not very good residence report about the services of highways, and one of the main things is potholes everywhere, isn't it? And we looked at that. So what we did, we had a character, quite a big, he was big character, and we called him Big Phil. His name was John, but his name was Big Phil, as filling a pothole. So then we used him as a sort of model. So we did this marketing.
Like a Stankerite worker.
That's right, yeah. And we used to take it, and this is the Big Phil, and he would sort your potholes out.
Right.
And it was quite good. So I did a few. It worked quite well.
Engaging with the public,
yeah.
Finding new ways to tell
finding
the
new
story,
ways, yeah. And then, as you know, with local authorities, we had lots of cuts. I was having to cut all the time. When the ones with street lighting, I took over the street lighting department where we had to do part lighting. Switching the lights off at 12 midnight till 5 in the morning, and that energy saving. What's with carbon now as well, and that was a lot of extra stress on me. Development, looking after developments, and it came to a point where the budgets had been cut, and I was looking for something a little bit different. And the owner of Centergreat happened to, I knew him, and I think he realised that I was a little bit I needed a challenge. So he said to me, if ever you wanted to come and work with me, come into the private industry. And I thought, no way would I go into the private industry.
So what changed your mind?
I think it was the cuts. It was, I was having to deal with cuts and everything like that all the time.
When was this?
It was 2016. It was.
Right. Oh, right. Yeah. So that's when the cuts really started to bite.
Started to bite. Yeah.
Austerity.
So then he offered me the job, and I took quite a few months to think about it, and then I thought, why don't I? I got a new challenge now. Let's go for it.
So outside of your day job, Ken, can you tell us about some of the supplementary work? Because I know you're a big figure in the industry. You help out in your part-time, really, in your spare time, with the ICE and I'm sure many other bodies. You want to talk to us a little bit about all the other stuff you do?
I was very lucky to be elected as chair of the ICE Wales back in 2022. And there's two people I got to thank really for that, and that's Keith Jones, who's director of the IC in Wales, and my wife Claire. And
that's nice.
Yeah.
Just tell us about Claire a little bit. How important has she been to supporting you throughout your career?
Oh, massively. She's a stone. She's the person I felt. You don't see me when I fall over. She's the one who says, right, get up, dust yourself, and get on with it.
And she's got a very successful career of her own, of course.
Yes.
You want to tell us about some of the projects she's worked on?
Yeah, she's into marketing. She's part of the Gavin and Stacey. She was in Barry.
Gavin and Stacey.
Yeah. She bought them there many years ago, and she introduced me to James Corden and Ruth Jones as well when she was there. That was fun. And Andrew Plant as well.
Yeah, so she was a little bit successful with
that
show.
And then she went on to work on the Royal Mint, and now she's into Stoma Bags now. She's your brand manager with Stoma Bags, yeah.
And what is it about what she says that when you fall over, she picks you up? What does she say? Just get up, Ken, or how does she approach it? What do you? Because you said you started this interview by saying people need different things. What do you need?
I need to go kicking sometimes. No, but I do need encouragement. Yes,
Yeah.
And I know Keith Jones, who's director of IC Wales. You know, he was the one. I remember when I went for my corporate engineer. I went through. I was one of the first in Wales to go the way I did. I went to the technical report route, which is quite difficult. You've got to do because I didn't have the academic qualifications. I had to sort of prove that I could do it. So I had to write a technical report on a subject that I'd been involved with. And that was quite difficult. I was one of the first in Wales, so it was very difficult to grasp how to do it. So, and when I was reviewed, it was a day's review, 2 reviewers, and the person who introduced it into the UK, really, he was the one who did it. So I went through a tough time to get in corporate engineer, and he was, a number of times that I met with him, and I threw it in the bin and said, I don't want to go on any further. And I was chuffed to bits I had it. And he said, right, next one is chartership. And I said, no way. It's just like when you're drinking, you know, you have a bad hangover. And what we hold, 5 years later, I become chartered. And, you know, I always get up at 5 o'clock every morning. So, since I've been on the farm, I get up at 5 o'clock in the morning. I do Christmas Day, holidays, whatever. And then I used to study from 5 o'clock. You know, like my wife can tell you, 5 o'clock in the morning till 7 I go to work. I'd study all the time. And that's when I became chartered, and I was really chuffed. And I went up to Great George Street, and I had my presentation.
Home of the ICE.
Yeah, and I had my presentation, which was a fantastic time. It was, yeah. So then I became chair of the ICE. I was elected. I was 3 years in the making, coming up from vice chair and things, and then I became chair of the Institute of Civil Engineer, which was a fantastic achievement, you know, for myself to think where I'd come from. And then once I became chair, and then I decided to go, well, I was talked into going for fellowship as well, between my wife and Keith, and I achieved that back in 2023. So I come all the way from a farmer to fellowship. So,
wow. So operations director at Centergreat,
yes.
Chair of ICE Wales, fellowship, a fellow, of the ICE. And
and I'm still chair of the municipal water group as well with the IC as well. So I've still got my hand with the IC doing that.
Wow, wow. Looking back, do you have any regrets?
No, not at all.
Wow.
No, I learnt everything from the bottom. And like I say, even now, I can talk to anybody. I can go on site, I can talk to site people, and I know it all works because I am ready from a book. You know, I've done it. It's been hard work. Would I do it again? It's really hard work, but it is worth it. You know, sometimes I wake up and think I'm a fellow. But there again, I always think back to 1982 when I was in that Land Rover.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what I always think about how I, you know, and that drives me. You know.
What is the next big challenge we need to take on in highways, and what advice would you give to the next generation about it?
It's got to be carbon reduction. You know, transport is one of the biggest use of carbon, and it's not only, you know, vehicles with emissions and things like that. It's the materials and things we're using. You know, you're looking at, you know, the cost, the carbon that's, you know, to bring material up to the temperature to lay and things like that. And I think that's the most important now at the moment, is carbon, to get that reduced.
Well, Ken, it's been fascinating talking to you. You've got an amazing story. Obviously, you've worked your way up through so many different aspects of this work, right to the top, and are now, you know, leading the sector, not just through one of its major companies in Wales, but obviously through the ICE Wales as well. So, congratulations on a brilliant career. Many happy returns. And on behalf of the sector, I just want to say thank you to your wife for giving you the kicking you needed sometimes. I hope you like that. I hope you learned something. Thank you very much for joining us. On behalf of myself, Dominic Brown, and Ken Evans of Centergreat. Safe journeys, everyone. Thank you very much.